This is BS. This is BS. Why are we here? I am gonna call corporate.
Who the hell gave this guy a video camera? Welcome, I guess, into another edition of BSing with Big Nate. Good luck.
Let's start the song with a tragedy. A little girl with an open heart, unaware of what she signed. The rules and legends, they are too dark. I'm not a druggie, but I've got my fix. With an open heart and a bleeding soul, I'm screaming, pleading that I need more stage time. Yeah. But do you wanna know what goes on in the show? Take one picture, this is my prerequisite. Heart in liquor, I don't have much control over it. Throw me to the crowd, I can handle it. Face to face, I see I was made for it. The man came and talked to me, promised anything but my destiny. What's the point of a heart of gold when you have to sell your soul? I walk down a crowded line with fake smiles and them ruby eyes. This may be the casting time, but it will not end tonight. But do you wanna know what goes on in the show?
is the Dev, Shameless Life. Welcome into another edition of BSing with Big Nate. I am joined by a lovely outfit out of Florida. I mean, it's a big state. What exactly area of Florida are you guys in?
Orlando.
Orlando. All right. That's not important. I just wanted to give a geographic because we've been getting pelted with terrible weather, so I wanted them all to be jealous that I was talking to someone in nicer weather.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I'm sleeveless, today. So with the AC on, in the car. So
We hit the mid 50s, mid 60s this week, and I was tempted to break the shorts back out, but didn't make it. We'll see how next week goes. I want to talk about first of all, let's get the background on the Dev. You guys have 3 singles out. How did everything come together, and how long have you guys been at this?
Well, our first show publicly was February 24th of 2019. So I want to say about 2 years, 2.5 years. But we've all known each other for a different amount of time. So right now we have one guitarist missing from the interview. He's doing stuff for the studio and for the band. And he and John knew each other the longest. I was the next person to kind of join the group, and I met them through a Craigslist post. Now, mind you, Orlando has a very large music scene. So if you're not familiar with Florida and Orlando, almost everybody knows everybody. So even though I met them on Craigslist, I actually already had mutual friends with John and mutual friends with Ryan and everything. So it wasn't like I was a random girl meeting a bunch of dudes at a studio from Craigslist. So let's preface it that. But I met them through Craigslist. I believe Ryan stumbled upon Chris. And then me and Barrett, we knew each other already before I ever joined the Dev. He was in another band prior, and I was visiting him at a show. I think I was seeing one of his shows. And it was during the time I was writing Queen of the Damned, which was our second single ever. And when I just linked up with the Dev, and there was an ongoing joke always amongst me and Ryan and John that I was going to steal this guitarist, and I really wanted him in the band. But it the timeline perfectly meshed where when we played House of Blues together, he wasn't just quite in my band, but then his band decided to part ways, and it just perfectly fell together. And then ever since then, we've been inseparable.
I mean, that's you could write a biography on the band. I'm pretty positive. I mean, you're in it, so you should know all that. Yeah, I mean, I've heard that about Central Florida as well. I've actually got a friend who used to play in a band out in Florida. He's now since moved to California and then Vegas. But it was always intriguing to me when I met someone who was from that area, and they all seemed to know each other.
Yeah,
definitely that music scene. A lot of people don't think about Orlando, but there's been a lot of bands that have actually come out of that area.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to ask, locally, what are your influences?
Locally?
Yeah.
Well, we played with this really dope band called A Light Divided. I have best friends. My bestest friend in the whole entire world, Audiel, I started my first band with, and he was in a Viking metal band called Sons of Ragnar. My ex-boyfriend's in a band called Varangar. So I don't know if we necessarily influence each other, but I can tell you one thing: we really do support each other in that sense. And that's another really cool thing. John and Chris are in also other bands, and from A Valley Ritual to John's band, it's not much of a competition. Mind you, there are bands that make everything into a competition, but I think the others can admit that we don't necessarily influence each other, but we kind of just support each other. There's one band that we play with all the time. I'm going to shout it out. Viedma. Albert was the first dude that ever even showed me what wireless microphone I wanted. So it was one of those things where when you can go to one band and be like, yo, dude, my mic is dead. And they're like, I got you backups, and they give you your own mic. That's how the community is pretty tight.
Community. That's important. And that's, I guess influence was really a bad choice of words on my part. I kind of meant that community, that family aspect. And that's what it should be. It shouldn't be a competition. You should want others doing the same thing you're doing to succeed, because ultimately I think it elevates things to a higher level.
I would say
talk about your guys.
I would say that's there, but it's there, but it isn't. It's still clicky, in anything. I mean, you're not going to ever get away from clicks. So there's still parts of the scene where some bands don't like other bands, et cetera, et cetera. And it could just be because they don't like that style of music. But for the most part, like the scene, there is a camaraderie, there is a unity amongst a lot of the musicians, but again, it can be cliquey. So, but for the overall, the most part, yes, it's absolutely a community, and a lot of people support each other, which is awesome, and it's a great thing, because I hear in a lot of other major cities, it's not like that. It's more cutthroat. People backstab. People don't care. They'll take your posters down and put theirs up. Like that type of stuff. You're putting up flyers for a show. Another band will come and put their flyer right over top of it. So you don't really get that here. You get a lot more support in Central Florida, which is awesome.
Yeah, see, I've only heard the positives about the Central Florida, and I've definitely heard, like you said, the negatives from other cities. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that for a minute. But that's enough talking about other bands. We're actually here to talk about the Dev, and I want to start with the single we just played, "Shameless Life," and kind of the first thing about it is it hooks you. There was everything about it was very much so. This is what rock and roll is supposed to sound like, but it was also, this is what the Dev sounds like. Like it's clearly drawing from a lot of places. So what's the process for you guys for writing a song?
I'm going to let one of the guys step in, just because I'm actually always the last person to really jump into the writing process. So they actually know more than I do when it comes to this.
So
Chris, you want to jump in?
sure, yeah, I'll take it. So basically, one of us will come up with a riff. We'll have an idea for a song, or maybe, what a verse, chorus, verse might be. And then we all jump in, mainly me, John, Ryan, and Barrett, we'll jump in a room together, and we'll slowly start hashing out parts to it, trying to make it grow, maybe add a bridge here, slowly start building on it. Eventually, once we get something that's solid in sound, we use our, average recording skills to try to go ahead and put together a little demo of it, send it over to Liz, have her start, or Nikolai, have her start making some lyrics to it, and then we slowly start going from there. We could jump then into the studio with our producer Andy and the audio compound. He goes ahead and kind of helps us out a little bit with it, and then we go from there. Normally he's just about the polishing, not necessarily about tweaking anything too major, but yeah, that's basically the process.
I mean, I think the final product kind of shows when you mention polishing, it's such a full sound. And I think part of that is with the technology available to us now, but it definitely sounds fully developed. It's not like and don't get me wrong, there's definitely the place for this, but it's not something just I recorded in my basement and this is my single. And like, you guys have the full package here.
Yeah, we got very lucky with Audio Compound and Andy, specifically because we work since Broken Lies, Queen of the Damned, and this song and any upcoming songs that we have, which we already have some pre-recorded. Andy's one of the really chill people that you can work with, where he doesn't necessarily ever switch up anything that we write when we go into the studio, but he's that perfect sixth ear, I guess, where when we listen to a song so many times, we don't realize that maybe we're putting too many embellishments or not enough embellishments. And so he is really good at recording us and making us sound as close to perfection as possible without as much editing, which I think is like really good, because I know for me as a singer and everything, I don't want to alter too much from what I sound on stage as to like what we sound, in studio. And then I can tell you honestly, but every song that we ever have released and probably will release in the future, we go through anywhere from 3 mixes to 7 mixes until we're all happy. Because it's one of those things where when it's out there, and there's a lot of emotion playing our music. So as much as heart and soul as we put into it, we want it to be perfected. So then when you guys can hear, you can hear everything, all the nuances, all the effects and everything, in order to get the full picture of it. And Andy is by far like a great dude when it comes to that stuff, because he doesn't get annoyed by us and our 50 million mixes.
No, I think that's important. And I think you mentioned something there, that there's a lot of integrity to it, that you want it to sound like it does when it's live.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, and I'm sure everyone else, I'm sure you guys have your own experiences with it, where you get really into a band and then you go see them live and it's nothing like it was on record. And you're like, well, what the hell is this?
Yeah. And it kind of sucks because there are obviously like different variances between recording and live shows. So for instance, like whenever I record, or like even when I'm doing interviews and I'm just hanging out with the bands, I'm always wearing like a baggy tee and I have my hair in a ponytail, and it seems so small and minuscule, but when you're genuinely more comfortable and comfortable clothes in a comfortable setting, and all you're doing is drinking teas and relaxing, and that is your only thing you have to do today, of course, you're going to get a better take. And I know, and I can probably speak for everybody else in the band, we move a lot on stage. So with moving a lot, you can maybe have like little imperfections here and there because you're literally like going berserk.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just one of those things where we can't control everything, but what we could control in the studio was doing our absolute best and just trying really hard to get every single one of those takes without chopping and cutting and slicing, but really just like trying to do it. So that's why whenever we do shows, it's kind of, I said do. Whenever we do shows, we really take it to heart. Like when people compliment us and say they're like, oh my God, we love you better live or something. Cause that's the most raw you're ever going to catch us. And I think we honestly like stage more than we do studio sometimes.
I
think, you know, definitely, sorry, we, you know, we don't write any tracks or anything like that live. You know, we don't believe in that. The only track that we run is like our intro track that we use. But yeah, we don't believe in running tracks and all that. I mean, we want it, you know, raw. You know, you have us the dev, raw, and alive. You know.
No, and I appreciate that mentality. I think it's important. Particularly, it's what keeps rock going, is the very kind of grabbing life by the balls and taking the bull by the horns and doing it your way. So no, I love that mentality and I really appreciate that. I do want to talk about something else because there's also a video to go with Shameless Life. And I'm going to say something you may all get really, really mad at me. The video is how I listened to the track at first. And that opening bit with the camera clicking, and then, you know, you've kind of got a similar setup to Duran Duran's video for Girls on Film. Granted, it goes in a very different direction, but like for a moment there, I hesitated and I was like, what the hell's going on? That being said, I think there's a really important message both behind the song and in the video. And I want to talk about how you guys put that video together and kind of conveyed that.
I'm trying to not talk too much because I'm like wanting to give the shot to the band members. So we all put our thoughts into what we wanted the music video to be. I tend to be a little bit more like nitpicky when it comes to aesthetics, just because like I'm the girl with the makeup room. So the color teal was chosen, I believe, because we all agreed upon it, but we wanted to have like an old Hollywood look. And during the 60s, teal was like painted on walls of like bowling alleys and shopping stores and like even into your own homes and stuff. So that's where teal came into play. And we always do a color scheme. I'm not sure exactly how we got into it, but we just got into it where Broken Lies was purple and it kind of resembled like a bruise and like TV Static. And then Queen of the Dam was red because it was sexy and vampy. And then teal was Shameless Life. The music video definitely did though alter a lot from what I think we first sat down and like the first storyline to the storyline that we received and what you guys are now viewing. Although Giselle from Black Hard Films and Pearson from Black Hard Films was the people that kind of like jotted out a storyline and then looked at what we could afford, what sceneries and settings that we could do, and then honestly just looked over the lyrics and try to figure out like how the hell we're going to portray this. So there is a little bit like of a video nuance similar to the song that you mentioned before. I don't think we had that planned. Like it wasn't even a thought in our mind. But we just wanted to really portray the idea, kind of foreshadowing the concept that in one sense, the audience almost owns us. I mean, it almost owns me. It almost owns the band. And like Nikolai isn't a legal name of mine. So when people say this name, they could not know me and now they know me. And everything from like image to what we say, even this interview, it's going to be like forever recorded. So it's a shameless life in the sense that we have to kind of sell ourselves a little bit. So you see that in the beginning of the music video. The makeup room, this room that I'm in right now, is actually the room where there was a little girl and me, and it was constantly going back and forth in takes. And the little girl, thanks to our manager, Jess from MVK, that's his daughter. she played me and she portrayed me. And the reason why I wanted to have a little girl in there is I didn't want to make it dark, like, oh my God, this little girl selling her soul, because I haven't even done that. But I wanted to show the innocence of it all, like a little girl doing makeup and singing to her, like her Hannah Montana or whatever she's singing to. And then the grown-up version where you can see I'm a little bit more serious, and I actually still have the cigarettes from the music video. And this, I still have like my Timber Creek bottle. I haven't changed my room at all since this music video, but you can see like a little bit more serious side of it all, where she's not necessarily numbing herself, but you know, it's a lot more pressure. And in the ending of the video, it says that I'm made for this. And even with all the pressure that's given, being either in a band or in any kind of music or artist form, you still accept that pressure because it's everything you ever wanted. So that's kind of how we got it. And then thank God Giselle knows how to shut me up and just figure out a storyline. And
no, I mean, what you said hits the nail on the head. I think it came out really well. It's really exciting product. I always do that. I mean, it's weird to call it a product, but I mean, it's kind of the message of the Shameless Life thing is that at the end of the day it is, and you guys back it up quite well. What's next for the Dev?
What's next for the Dev, guys?
We have a lot of stuff in the works. I don't know if we can really announce too many things, but we have some exciting new announcements coming up for April. We have something going on there. And then we have another song we're working on in the studio that we're going to be figuring out when that's going to be coming out soon too. We haven't even gotten it back yet, so we're still working on all that stuff. But
and another reason why we probably can't like say too many things is not because like management or anything, but there's not a single thing that you guys see that we haven't all put our hands into and figured out what we approve and what we don't approve. So even though Shameless Life is all done and out now, there's still so much left to do and so much more to do, photo shoots and interviews and every magazine article that we even get into. We don't have just a retarded list of quotes and then just send off whatever you want to use. We actually sit down and do them. So we're in the weird process of celebrating Shameless Life and getting really excited for it. But like behind the scenes, we're all so freaking out because we're literally in the midst of mixing a new song and then the music video and then the photo shoot and then everything else that has to go to it. And so it's going to take us 3 months. And then once we release it, it's going to be a month. And then people are like, what's next? So
yeah,
we have a lot in the future though coming.
To me, that's got to be the weirdest part is the you know, you get this done, but then it's like, well, let's look ahead though too.
Yeah.
We're always thinking like 3-4 months in advance what we're going to do up there, and then making sure we prep for that now so that this way we're not behind. It's always kind of snowballing itself ahead, you know.
Yeah, we probably had one real day to enjoy the release, and that was the release day. We did a live stream and it was probably the coolest thing ever. If you go on our Instagram or our Facebook, we did a live stream on both, so you could just type in the Dev Band on Instagram or the Dev Music on Facebook. And we got to do a live stream where we just answered everybody's like questions and the would you rathers, and we played Shameless Life, of course, live. And then after that, for once, we literally just all hung out as a band with no jobs or anything to do. And we just got a little tipsy, went to weird gothic bars, ate food out of food trucks. And then the next day, slap in the face, what are we going to do for PR? What are we doing this? When are we doing that? And then now we're already worried about the next song, and it hasn't even been a week yet.
Oh, I love it, and I'm excited for what the future holds. Of course, everyone, you're going to be sure to follow the Dev. Give him some love on YouTube. Check out that video for Shameless Life. I promise you, it's not Duran Duran's Girls on Film. Guys, thank you so much for joining me, and I'm looking forward to what the future holds. Hopefully, you'll come back.
Of course.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Oh, my pleasure.